It was a huge diplomatic triumph for Trump to arrange a future meeting with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. Similarly, meeting with Putin could also help mend relations, but not without risk. Let's look into the prospects and perils with Jim Hansen, who's the president of the Security Studies Group, and former State Department official and Obama campaign advisor David Tafuri. David, I want to start with you. Do you think the president's making a mistake here, or should he meet with President Putin?
This was pretty stunning news because of the timing of how this happened. First of all, it happened in a phone call with Putin where President Trump's aides urged him not to congratulate Putin on his election win. He did that anyway. Now we find out today, not from the White House, but from the Kremlin, that President Trump also invited Putin to come to the White House. The question is, why is he doing these things, sending positive signals to Putin when everyone else, including our allies, are pushing back against Russia? When we've just expelled Russian diplomats, we're trying to send a message that Russia has to back off, but President Trump quietly, secretly, is sending the opposite message. And
David, are you really arguing that the two leaders should not meet and they should not talk? You think that that's bad?
No, I actually think it's good to meet with foreign leaders, even our adversaries, but you have to do it in the correct way, and you can't have a mixed message.
What's wrong with saying we should meet in the future? I mean, look, come on.
He didn't say let's meet in the future.
When the president is diplomatic, when the president is diplomatic, you give him a hard time and say, oh, well, you should have listened to his aides. But if he was standoffish, you gave him the stiff arm and said never, ever, then you'd be criticizing for not being.
You know, Jason, I saw you on Fox News Sunday this weekend. You talked about how you were surprised that President Trump now wants to pull out of Syria. You disagree with that view. Yeah. You were very polite about it, but I agree with you. Why is President Trump also pulling out of Syria now? He suddenly announces
You're kind of off topic here. I'm just trying to see if the two should talk together in a meeting.
No, but it's the best thing in the world for Putin. That's what Putin wants. He wants us to pull out of Syria. He just spent a couple hundred mercenaries
you're off on Syria. I'm just trying to ask if they should meet.
U.S. forces in Syria, and a couple weeks later, Trump announces we're pulling out.
Okay, let me bring in Jim
here.
Jim, you have a perspective on this. Should the president and President Vladimir Putin, should they get together? Is that a good, healthy thing for the country and the world?
Of course they should. And the idea that somehow when Trump is talking to Putin, he shouldn't suggest this is ridiculous. When else is he going to do it? The two of them are the two top leaders and the two people with the most to deal with right now, including Syria, as David just mentioned. Right now, Russia, Turkey, and Iran are meeting to carve up Syria. President Trump needs to get in front of Putin and tell him not to do that. So the idea that some are saying that this is Trump groveling, like the hysterical Jen Rubin column in today's Washington Post said, is ridiculous. He's trying to get Putin in front of him so they can sit down and talk about things like Syria, like North Korea, like the major issues that are facing our two countries. That's President Trump's job.
So, David, do you worry that it's at the White House, or do you think there's another venue that you should be there? And what is your worry about the two world leaders talking together?
My worry is about the message that we're sending to Russia when we're trying to create deterrence towards Russian conduct, including the conduct where it used nerve agents against people on the soil of our ally in England, when it sent mercenaries to attack our forces in Syria, when it had a bogus election to elect Putin. We should be deterring that type of conduct from Russia. Russia is an adversary to the U.S. Russia is against democracy. It's against rule of law, and we're allowing Russia to spread.
But we did more. The United States President Trump did more to punish Russia. He did more to punish Russia than the Obama administration ever did.
That's absolutely incorrect.
When those mercenaries came in, and attacked us in Syria, we didn't talk about it. We killed hundreds of them. All right, the idea that Trump is somehow soft on Russia, when he's done that, he expelled the diplomats. And if you don't want to have that region turn into war in the Middle East, maybe you should talk to the other major power that's playing proxy warfare in there and try to de-escalate it. The idea that somehow, should we go to war with Russia because they put a few Facebook ads up calling Hillary Clinton Satan? That's hardly the worst thing they've done. There's a lot bigger things in play, and I think President Trump and Putin need to be face-to-face to talk about them.
You know, you make a really good point, Jim, but the fact is that mercenaries went and attacked our forces, and while our forces were in danger and they fought back against these Russian mercenaries, President Trump is making nice with Putin. It doesn't even make sense. It's not appropriate conduct. It's not appropriate conduct for our commander-in-chief. And one other breaking news that's really troubling is that now we learned today that the that we were expelling Russian diplomats, but actually Trump has said it's okay for them to come back. He's expelling these 60, but 60 more can come back. It's not even a punishment. He has done nothing to push back.
All right.
Yes, that's the news today, Jason.
All right, listen, one good thing that I can tell you I think is in a good place is that the ambassador, or U.S. ambassador to Russia, is John Huntsman. I served as his chief of staff, and I do think we're in good hands there, and I think both sides of that would agree that they did pick the right ambassador there in Russia. I thank you both for the vigorous debate. I'm sure there'll be a lot more to discuss about it.